Hi guys, it's Aoife from FredBC Dead Laughing and I am here with my weekly wrap up. I got 4 books read this week. 2 of those books are rereads, which is something I haven't done in a really long time, and I really enjoyed my rereads this week, and I'm going to tell you all about the books that I read now. So the first book I read was The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo by F.C. Yee. One of the reasons I picked this up again is because I have the sequel on my shelf for the last few months called The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo, and I decided I wanted to try and read this for the Asian Readathon, which was taking place in May. I actually found it really hard to try and remember all the little bits and pieces that actually happened in Jeannie Lo. I could remember the overall storyline, but I just couldn't remember little bits and pieces. And I did remember that I really enjoyed this book the first time I read it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars and I really raved about it on my channel. So I decided that I would reread it just to make sure the story was fresh in my mind. So this is a book about a young Asian American teenager called Jeannie Lo. Her adventures when a new kid comes into her school and he tells her that he is the Monkey King. He's the Monkey King from Chinese folklore, and she's also a reincarnated spirit from Chinese folklore as well, and the two of them have to team up and basically battle demons that are coming out of Chinese hell and are coming to Earth and trying to kill human beings. And Jeannie Lo is just, she doesn't really know how to deal with this information. She has a lot of things on her plate. She's trying to get through school. She's trying to be the good daughter that her parents want her to be. She's trying to get really good grades. She wants to get into a really good college. She has like these really big ambitions to get into a really good college and get a really good job and then kind of get out of where she's been living her whole life. She's a lot of dreams and aspirations for herself, and fighting demons with this guy who thinks he's the Monkey King just isn't on it. But this book is just so fun, and one of the things I love about this book is the fact that I really don't know a lot about Chinese folklore, and this is kind of, it brings those stories to life in a really accessible way. It's just really fun, and bringing these kind of gods and spirits into kind of the modern world and seeing them interact in the modern world as well is just really fun. And Jeannie Lo is just, she's just such a badass, and the way she talks to different people can be quite funny sometimes. She can be quite kind of, I guess, matter-of-fact and hard-hitting, and she doesn't really, you know, hold back her words sometimes. She can have some anger management issues, which is kind of funny sometimes in this book as well. And there is a little bit of a romantic relationship that is just sweet in this book. And then also one of the things I love about this book so much is the female friendship in it between Jeannie and her best friend Jeannie, and the two of them have this really lovely solid female friendship, and you see the two of them really care for each other. You see Jeannie caring for Jeannie, Jeannie worrying about Jeannie during all of this demon hunting. She's worrying about keeping things from her friend, trying to keep her friend safe, and yeah, just the bond the two of them have is just really special, and I just really enjoy it. This book is just a really fun read. Kind of, it teaches me something as well, shows me things I want to read more of as well, which is Asian mythology, which is just so fascinating and something I've never really read that much before of. So rereading this was a reminder that it's something I wanted to read more of, so I need to find more books that have this kind of take on Chinese mythology, and just learning a little bit more about it will be really interesting. And then after that I picked up The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo, also by F.C. obviously, and this basically just follows on from things at the end of The Epic Crush, and you can't say too much, but basically in this one Jeannie has some extra responsibilities that she has to deal with on top of, obviously, you know, keeping up with her friends, school, her relationship, and then also in this one we get a closer look at kind of Jeannie's kind of decisions that she has to make around college and her future, and things that are looming up, and things that she needs to make a decision on quite quickly and that she's feeling a lot of stress about. Have like really real teenage problems and things that any teenager would relate to, so that's really great to see as well. Female friendship in this one just comes on full force as well. It's even better than the first one, I think, because you see Uni really come into Jeannie's life fully, and the way she works with Jeannie in terms of like helping her with different things and talking to her and being there for her, and it's just really nice. I think this book probably just wasn't as exciting for me as the first one. It takes place in, it's kind of weird because the first one takes place over a course of a few months, where this one takes place over the course, mostly of the course of a long weekend. But this one felt like it was a little bit longer, and there are parts of this one that felt like, I don't know, I just feel like there was something missing a little bit in this one, the excitement of the first one. And while I did see, we kind of got another look at even more gods and spirits and people in Chinese folklore, and we saw more of them come to life, and we saw more of them be part of this story and Jeannie's story, and I really enjoyed that as well. But I think the overall story just didn't do it for me as much as The Epic Crush did. And I think at the start of this book as well, this is obviously a proof copy that I got from Amulet. I should have said that. I got this and The Epic Crush from Abrams and Chronicle / Amulet Books in exchange for an honest review. But at the start of this book there is like a little note. It kind of says in it that he wrote The Iron Will of Jeannie Lo during a time when stuff was happening, to say the least, both in my life and outside it. I was trying to juggle being productive as a writer with handling the emotional roller coaster that comes with an author debut, with figuring out the next steps in my non-writing career. And I think maybe did that affect the overall writing of this book? I'm not really sure, but I did enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it as much as the Epic Crush, and I think there was just something missing in this one that I felt in the Epic Crush. I do love the characters, they're just so funny. I think the humour in this is great, the female friendship in it is great, the little romances in it are also really cute. I gave this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely read more of FCE's writing in the future. And then the next reread that I decided to pick up was The Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I've had The Children of Virtue and Vengeance, which is the second novel in this trilogy, on my phone from my library app for ages, and it literally this week it was like down to like, I only had I think like 6 days left to read it, and I was like, okay, like I really need to read that, which means I needed to reread this, because again, I just didn't feel like I remembered the original story enough to be able to go into the sequel with confidence. So I wanted to reread this and kind of see what I felt about it the second time around. This is a fantasy novel deeply embedded in African folklore, and it is full of magic. And in this land, there are a type of people called diviners, and they are basically born with this white hair that you can see on the cover. It kind of means that they have the ability to be able to do magic. And there's different types of magic. Some people can do like fire magic, other people do water magic, there's like earth magic. There's loads of different types of magic in this world. But the king of this land, he doesn't like the magi, which is what they call these diviners as well. He doesn't like the magi. He blames them for things that were done in the past to his family, and he was able to basically find a way to eradicate magic and basically stripped a lot of these people of their rights. And now when our main character in this, Zelly, when she is growing up, she is someone who seems to have very little rights. She's oppressed, she is treated really, really badly by other people simply because of the way she looks, and people know that if magic still existed, she would be able to do magic. And yeah, she's just treated really badly. She witnessed the death of her mother during when magic was eradicated, living in kind of a brutal world. So we've 3 main characters in this. There's Zelly, her brother Zane, and then the princess of this world, Amari, who basically finds a way to be able to bring magic back, and she partners up with Zelly, and the two of them kind of with Zane end up going on this journey to try and bring magic back and basically give the magi back their full rights, and to be able to maybe possibly take back the kingdom and make everything better. This book was really, really hyped when it first came out, and I had wondered, sometimes when you read a really hyped book and then after a while you wonder if you liked it as much as you think you liked it, or did you like it because of the hype. So I was interested going into this to see if I enjoyed it as much as I did the first time I read it, and I definitely think I did. There were a lot of things that I think I took out of this and learned more of the second time around that I read it. The magic was done really well. I really love the character of Zelly. Very strong in ways. She can sometimes be a little bit unforgiving in ways that can be frustrating, but at the same time I think is extremely human. But I just really love this. I just love how the magic used. I love the fact that the world is really based on African folklore, and I've really enjoyed in different books reading about that, because again, it's not something that I know a huge amount of. And because of the timing that I was reading this book that I just happened to pick it up at was obviously during this week when Black Lives Matter protests have been going on, and the reaction to the George Floyd murder in Minneapolis. And reading this book during this was just really interesting, because I think it was when Tomi Adeyemi was originally writing this book, the time Philando Castile was originally killed by a police officer. And I remember when I went to the book signing of this, and Tomi Adeyemi, she spoke a little bit about that, and in the back of the book in the acknowledgements as well, she acknowledges those murders, and she also talks about children who've been killed by police, such as Tamir Rice. There's a lot of passages in this book and a lot of statements made by the characters that just really made me think. It really reflected kind of what is going on now and what people are saying now. It's what the people have been saying for a long time now again, and people really need to listen this time. And it's funny that like the oppression and the racism in a way, I guess, in this book towards the magi because of how they look, it's so relevant to today's, even though this is set in a fantasy world, it is still relevant to today's society. And it was just really interesting reading this when this was all going on and taking stuff. I wonder some of the things that I was taking out of this, and some of the things that were impactful to me. I don't know if would they have been as impactful to me if what is going on in the world right now wasn't going on. I would hope they would be, but I can't say that for certain. Some passages in this just really did strike a chord with me and made me really think about what's going on in the world right now, and things that we can do as white people to listen to people who need to be heard, and to amplify and help amplify those voices. I'll leave links down below of things that I have found helpful in the past week or so, and resources and things like that people might find, videos, links, things to listen to, things to engage with. I will leave all those linked below that I personally have found really helpful. So I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and then I went straight on to the second book, which is Children of Virtue and Vengeance, and I think this book has one of the most beautiful covers of all time. I adore the cover of this book, and this one basically, as I said, follows on from the end of what happened at Children of Blood and Bone, so I can't say too much. This one I wasn't sure about going into it because I heard a lot of mixed things about this. Some people who have absolutely loved Blood and Bone weren't mad about Virtue Inventions, and it could just be that it could have had that second book syndrome. Some people don't like second books that much. They think they find that they drag a little bit. This one I enjoyed where it went. I think there was definitely not so much, I'm not sure so much of a communication problem in this one between the characters, but there were characters who they just weren't listening to each other, and they were just kind of shouting over each other all the time, and it could get frustrating when they just weren't working together the way they should. As a reader, you're just trying to make them work together the way they should to get to where they need to go, and there were times where the characters did really stupid decisions. In this one in particular, I feel like some of the characters made so many stupid decisions that were just so frustrating as a reader. Still think those decisions did carry the story along quite nicely. There is a character in this called Inan, and he's still a slight romantic interest in this book, but he is possibly the most frustrating character I've ever read about in a book, because he's so like indecisive of what he wants to do and where he wants to be and what side he wants to be on, and you just never know what he's going to do. He says one thing and then he does another thing, and it's just the most frustrating thing to read. This book did leave on like a major cliffhanger, which definitely makes me really excited for the next book to see where it happens, and I definitely have loads of guesses on what is happening, where they're going, what will happen in the next book, and yeah, I'm really excited to see where that leaves off. But I did really enjoy this book, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So that's everything I have read this week. As I said previously, I will leave a bunch of things that I've really enjoyed, different types of media and petitions and things that people might want to get involved in. I'll leave them all linked down below in the description box. I have kind of tried to engage with things that are not just like US related but also Irish related, because I think it's really important, while also seeing what's going on in the US, kind of looking at your own country as well and listening to those to black voices in your own country, and not pretending that like Ireland isn't a racist country, because there has been acts of racism in Ireland, and just because it's not what it seems like in the US, it still does exist. So yeah, I want to include some like Irish related things in those resources that I do leave linked below, because I think that's important. So yeah, I hope everyone is doing well and looking after themselves. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any comments down below, please leave them. Let me know what books you're reading, what you thought of these books, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!